Since 2006, when we commenced the project, we've obviously progressed quite some way. We've completed all of the reclamation, we've built the quay walls, we have completed the main civil infrastructure works, which are the roads, the bridges. We've also committed our development and construction of the critical infrastructure. And that's an important point. Many developments are built either in isolation or at the fringes of urban development, where they have to encourage infrastructure into their development. In the case of Bahrain Bay, we made the commitment up front to put all of the critical utilities and services in the ground, so that when investors came to site, when they purchased their land, they had certainty in terms of connectivity with roads and physical infrastructure, sewer and water, power, district cooling, all embedded in the project, as well as the highest level of IT connectivity in the ground, ready to capitalise on their investment. We have completed all that work. We've also sold 65% of the land. Despite the financial crisis, despite the difficulties of the market over the last 3 years, we've been successful in selling 65% of the land, and we've been very successful in attracting a good diversity of investors. Local investors, regional investors from Saudi, from Kuwait, from Qatar, from Dubai, and international investors from Europe, India and Southeast Asia. And that's given us a good strength and a good platform, both in terms of the diversity of intellectual capital coming into the project, a good cross-section of financial sources coming into the project, and most importantly, for any major project, a strong support in the local market. Every major development project, to be successful and to be part of a community, needs to have a local representation of at least 30 to 35%. And we've been successful in achieving all of those goals. Well, now that we've sold 65% of the land to a very solid cross-section of investors, we have to ascertain our best way for going forward. And certainly over the last 2 to 3 years, the market has changed dramatically, both in terms of supply-demand ratios, in terms of take-up and momentum, in terms of costs, and perhaps in terms of demands going forward. So we need to reevaluate the remaining 35% of our land to ensure that we're attracting the most relevant investors possible. To that end, we are looking at opportunities where we may descale portions of the land. We're looking at opportunities of attracting boutique investors rather than large investors. We're still looking at potential large investors for either single purchases or joint venture opportunities that we may develop together. And we're looking for those investors who recognise that they can bring a product to the market that gives them a unique positioning, not more of the same. You know, one of the problems that we have through any real estate boom is that we get a lot of the same, not just in Bahrain, but anywhere around the world. You know, the reason you end up with boom-bust cycles is because you get oversupply of any one or two products in the market. So we need to make sure as we go forward, we diversify our product, we diversify our investor, and we respond to the real demand in the local market. And that's what we're doing at the moment. And we're trying to do that through inputs into the design criteria of our committed investors, and we're doing it by explaining what the real opportunities are now for new investors, because there is an oversupply in some respects to high-end, high-rise unit development. There's a very strong demand for affordable housing. There's a very strong demand for move-up housing. There's a sudden interest in hotel and tourism, and there's a beginning to emerge a more strategic investment approach to things like corporate headquarters. So how do we make all of that fit with our current investors? What can we talk about and encourage in terms of new investors? They're the sorts of things we're looking at. Well, we have, as I said, 35% of the land to sell, and it's a cross-section of possibilities. There are very high-rise tower potential plots, and there are mid-rise and low-rise potential plots for development. our real impetus is to encourage those who have currently invested to get started, because that adds value to the surrounding lands. It gives confidence to the developers who are already there side by side, and it begins to demonstrate to the greater, broader market of Bahrain that the people who know the market best, those that have got their money on the table, are prepared to take a longer term view and move forward. We've already seen it with our key shareholder, our Capita Bank, a very successful local private equity bank. They've established their headquarters building on site. We've built the building for them. They've moved in and they're operating, and they're very, very positive about their future, because they can see themselves not only in their new headquarters building, but they can see themselves as being part of what they've always dreamt to create, a new downtown for Manama. We're already seeing that support being added to by the commitment of the commencement of the Four Seasons Hotel. Now, Four Seasons are a world-renowned brand. It gives us the opportunity to leverage off that brand. You talk about a $300 to $400 million investment in any development, you have to take it seriously. We have a 55-storey commercial high-rise tower under construction. I believe that before the end of 2011 we'll have at least 2 more projects under construction. We know that we have already got a commitment from our Bahrain Bank. They've signed their contractor up to start construction of their new financial headquarters. So when you add all of that together with the government infrastructure that's taking place around us, you're looking at in excess of $1 billion worth of work going on today in Bahrain Bay. Despite what many people may say by looking around at the edges, that things might be tough, or things might be slowing down, or things maybe need to be taken more circumspectly. In fact, what's happening in Bahrain Bay is that we're moving forward on time and on program, and our third-party developers and our government neighbours and our government ministries are supporting us in that effort.